Welcome back, I'm Tedward, and today, thanks to McGovern Subaru in Newington, New Hampshire, we're driving the 2022 Subaru WRX. This is the new body design, the 5th generation of the WRX, and it shares no body panels with the standard Impreza anymore. It's a little bit of a polarizing design now that we have this new rear end with the taillights hiked up. But let me give you some facts. It's got a 2.4 liter twin scroll turbocharged boxer engine that makes 271 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque. It's kind of a screamer, and if you're cross-shopping daily drivers that are entertaining and won't bore you to tears under $40,000, this has to be on your list. Now, Subaru has even gone so far as to make sure that the vents that they're using are functional. So unlike that 10th gen Civic Si with all the fake stuff, you get real cooling, real improvements on the car. And yes, that means you still get your functional hood scoop, which seems exceptionally large on this generation. Now, this car in silver shows off all of the beautiful body lines, but I know that not everyone believes this to be a beautiful car, namely because of these plastic fenders. And I actually don't find these very offensive, because I think that if you're buying an all-wheel drive Subaru, you're probably going to do some gravel driving and something that's a little less, I don't know, dainty than just driving on pavement. And I feel like that's kind of the move in the Subaru world, to make sure that you're not just cracking paint and all that stuff. To put the power down, we've got a 245 section tire up front and in the rear, which is going to make your life very easy for tire life extension, because you'll be able to rotate your tires like a normal person, unlike every other sports car, which seems to have a staggered tire setup. This Subaru WRX has been equipped with a 6-speed manual gearbox, and this is probably what most people will opt for when they buy their WRX. Now, unfortunately, Subaru has been encouraging people with options to buy the CVT, because you cannot get the good seats. You don't get the driver assist with the manual option, which is very bizarre, because you would think this is the way. This is why you buy a Subaru. But we do still get a proper handbrake. That's lovely, and we don't see that on very many cars today. As far as practicality, this is going to be your daily driver. This is going to be a fun car that you can go to car meets in, but also probably what you're bringing your family or groceries around in. And we've got plenty of room in the trunk. Nothing to write home about here, very simple. But rear seats, fairly ample room back here. I've got a lot of legroom in this. With the driver's seat in my position, I have a ton of legroom. I mean, I couldn't use more of it if I tried. And I've got an armrest with some cup holders, nothing extravagant. No sunroof, slick top, probably the way you want it. Prevents leaks in the later future if you're going to keep this for a very long time. But, you know, no frills back here. We do have red stitching to add a little contrast, and these are, you know, fairly supportive, and because they're not leather, they're cloth, they kind of grab you. They're like Velcro, you know, that's always good. I do appreciate a good quality cloth seat. We've got charging ports here for USB, but no heated seats in the rear. However, we do get heated seats up front. Under the hood, this is where this car becomes a Subaru, because honestly, Subarus are all about these boxer 4-cylinders. And with our top-mounted intercooler and our typical boxer 4-cylinder setup with a twin scroll turbo, this is a potent little power plant that's doing a lot of work for around $32,000. That's actually very impressive. 271 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque, and the car weighs about 3,300 pounds. So it's certainly not a lightweight, but it's not heavy either. And this is great for that daily drive and even driving in traffic, because I know a lot of folks don't want to drive a stick shift in traffic. However, if you've got some torque, it makes it a bit easier. You don't have to do so much work to keep it moving. So let's start it up and listen to it from behind, because I feel like the Subaru files of the world want to make sure it still sounds like its cousins, its older brothers. And of course, you could do your own exhaust modifications, but this does look pretty beefy with these quad tips, and it sounds the part. To start the WRX, we've got a start-stop button down here, but we also have this giant trip reset button for your trip odometer, which I think is in such a bizarre place, but, you know, you might accidentally hit that. Classic rumble from our boxer 4-cylinder, but what I really do like about this car, analog gauges. We get an analog speedometer and an analog tach. That's great. Have a giant infotainment system, and I know that a lot of people dislike a tacked on sort of iPad to the top of a dashboard. So if that really bothers you, for the money, this is probably as good as it's going to get. It is certainly still an iPad in the center of your car, but you know what? Maybe you won't be complaining when you're using a handbrake. Yes, an actual handbrake, a rarity in this world. Let's put it in first, go for a drive. Has loads of torque, and now I'm coming directly from my Honda Civic Si, which is significantly slower than this car. This car actually does have quite a bit going for it in the way of its powertrain. I do wish the seating position was a little bit lower. I feel like I'm sitting up a little high in the car, but you know, this roof is still nice and tall, so I definitely don't feel like I'm gonna knock my head on it or anything. You could still definitely use this on a racetrack. You'd fit your helmet just fine where we are, and especially because there is no sunroof on this car, it is pretty high up. Still feels light on its feet despite being about 3,300 pounds. It doesn't feel quite as light as the SI, but it feels like it certainly knows how to put the power down. Rev matching, super easy. I think they made this tune very playful and natural, which has not been the case in a lot of new cars with manual transmissions. It's actually kind of a pain. You know, you feel like you've always got to go and tune something to get rid of that rev hang or just to make it more drivable. In this car, it actually feels like they set it up to win. They set it up for a driver. They didn't just toss you that manual transmission and say, okay, we gave you what you want, now stop complaining, go figure it out yourself. So this is good because that means you're going to be able to get this car, not necessarily need to tune it, and keep your warranty. Of course, because it's got this symmetrical all-wheel drive system, it's able to send power to the front and rear appropriately, which means that you can be in that turn on throttle and you're not going to get that torque steer like you would in a typical front-wheel drive platform with an LSD. The steering is just like slightly more vague. I want to feel a little bit more from the front tires. It's not terrible though. I still am not like afraid of it. It's just that because this is such a, what feels like a pretty, tight ratio, short ratio steering rack, you want as much information as you can get because things are happening quickly when you make inputs. Driving around town in this thing, quite easy, because for a 4-cylinder in 2022 to have a displacement of 2.4 liters, that's like kind of beefy. I mean, my Honda's 1.5 liters. This twin scroll turbo spools up quickly. It seems very efficient, but we've got enough displacement to have torque even before that turbo starts kicking in and adding pressure to the situation. 75 miles an hour, we're turning 2,800 RPM. That's pretty good. Like nice low revs, not having to probably engage much of that turbo. That's good. That's helping out. That's going to do well for your fuel efficiency. And although these Subarus aren't the most fuel efficient thing, there are more fuel efficient cars, you're gonna be just fine. You're gonna enjoy it and you're gonna have fun with your car, and you'll definitely be able to sacrifice maybe that 40 mile per gallon on another car for the added torque and entertainment value on this. Let's see how it pulls on the highway. Not exceptionally fast, but you know, you can always tune it. We know what these are capable of. They can make a bunch of power. And the reality is it has enough torque to get the job done. You're not dealing with a 400 horsepower thing. You're not dealing with an STI. You're driving a WRX. It's that happy, sweet middle ground where you're able to enjoy your daily driver and you can still thrash it quite a bit and take it to a racetrack. I think it just drives really well. This drives the way you want your 6-speed manual transmission sporty car to drive. Road noise is surprisingly minimal. This is actually quiet, but I do still get to hear the rumble of this engine. And I think those Subaru fans who are really into this platform and have been for many years, that's gonna be a rewarding experience because it feels like a lot of the things that we loved in the past of all of our cars are going away. It's hard to get that. Now, I feel like most everyone is gonna opt for the 6-speed manual, which is why I can't understand why Subaru made it so you basically can't option a lot of items in your WRX when you do get a 6-speed manual. You lose a lot of driver assist features. I don't even think you can get the good seats unless you get the CVT option. That's a bummer. That's not great. Ooh, that's cool. Now, I don't know if this has an auto rev matching feature, nor do I care to find out, but what I'm pleasantly surprised by is the lack of rev hang. I'm finding the revs dropping surprisingly fast, and I'm thinking, hello, Honda, where were you? Did Subaru figure something out that you could not? I do like the way this gets up and goes. We're gonna be a little careful here because we don't wanna mess with folks working on trees. I think we might be in the clear, but here's the thing. You're buying this car to both be your normal, efficient-ish daily driver, and it's going to be kind of a personality trait, if that makes any sense. And I hate to say that because it's such a lame thing where your car becomes your personality, but your car does often become a gateway to the automotive community. And it really does matter what you're driving about what kind of meets you're gonna end up at. This guy's having a great day. I love it. Thank you. I don't wanna hit this dude. I hope you're all right. Thank you. Cool. Appreciate it, appreciate it, appreciate it. Don't drop a tree on me. This car's brand new. Thank you. Good, good, good. Man, the torque is just right there. This thing spools up quick. This is something my Honda does not do. Ooh, I'm trying not to get jealous. I don't want to be jealous, but here's the thing. There are some normal creature comforts that are lacking. I do feel like the steering wheel feels very plasticky. That's kind of cheap, easy to replace, and I'm sure maybe if you do go for that CVT option with the GT trim level, you might have more options available to you for creature comforts, but alas, here we are. I don't feel it right now. What's also nice about this car is the way it digs its way out of a hole, and there's not a whole lot in the way of torque steer, unlike my Honda, because it's able to send power to the rear end, which is nice. And in New England, that's a big thing. Look at the way this thing carves a corner. What's nice too is you got a pretty solid mid-range torque here. just really drags you out. It's kind of nice. This is quick for like a normal sort of mid-level. It's not quite entry-level sports car, but it's still giving me more than I anticipated. This is great. If you're somebody that just hates the fact that this poor car got uglified by, you know, whoever's designing it, now, which is completely subjective. I'm just speaking to what the internet has decided has happened to this car. It doesn't really matter to me. I don't feel much partiality to its heritage, but I'm going to tell you from the driving experience, like, this is actually quite enjoyable. The blinker stock, it has the BMW style blinker stock where it doesn't hold its position. You actually just kind of like slap it down and then it blinks. I'm surprised they went this direction. I feel like that's notoriously unloved in the automotive community. This gearbox is lovely and this shifter is nice, but not as good as the Honda. So I've got to give props to the Honda for that. I'm sorry I keep comparing it to that, but I feel like we're in that $30,000 price range and this is where we're at. So in this car, you're getting a package where you're getting a heck of a lot more torque, a heck of a lot more power, and more capability just from the fact that you've got an all-wheel drive system with a 50-50 split. But some of the tactile things in the car, not quite as good as the competition that lacks some of the other things that may be important to you. So this is where you as a driver, you as a consumer, have to really make some decisions about what's important to you. Is it the power or is it the tactility? But a major creature comfort that you're not getting on the cheaper SI, man, you're not getting those heated seats. In this one, you get seat heaters up front. The WRX feels like one of the last vestiges of the Save the Manuals movement. Like, it feels like a car that you can confidently say is going to be available in a manual transmission and that the take rate of the customers is going to be exceptionally high. It does give me pause that, you know, the STI is gone. It gives me pause that this might be one of the last times we see this. We still got to keep those revs up. Boxer 4-cylinder problems. It gives me pause that this might be one of the last times we see a transmission like this in a car like this, in a platform like this. And how long can they kind of get away with building these? So for now, don't get so angry if the style isn't exactly what you want. I'm going to be honest with you. It was never that handsome of a car to begin with. There were gorgeous ones. There were. But overall, this was never like a beautiful, beautiful thing. It was kind of a blunt object that got the job done. So enjoy it for what it is now. Thank you so much to McGovern Subaru for the opportunity to drive the brand new 2022 Subaru WRX. Thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to respect the drive, and I'll see you in the next one. And I kind of appreciate the fact, sorry about the road noise, this is not great.